They're on their way. Susie and Commissioner Chairman.
All right, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, March 14th. I am Aaron Mays, Chairman of the County Commission this year, representing District 3. On my left is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 1, and on my right is Bill Rippon is over here, representing District 1, and on my right is Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Man, good start to today's meeting, guys.
I thought you weren't going to be here because of spring break, so that's probably why. You really should have been on spring break.
I wish I was on spring break right now. Unfortunately, I'm not. So, first item, please.
First item is item A, proclamations precinct A, Project Topeka fundraisers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Stephanie Kuhlman with the Shawnee County Commission Office. During the month of February, Shawnee County employees held fundraisers to raise money for Project Topeka. This is 100% of all donations going to feeding the hungry in Topeka and Shawnee County. Audit Finance, Human Resources, and Register of Deeds teamed up to have a bake sale. It was around Valentine's Day. The Treasurer's Office hosted a biscuits and gravy sale. The Shawnee County Sheriff's Office held an internal chili and dessert contest and also a taco sale that combined they raised $715. Public Works and the Appraiser's Office, they sold pizza and pop. The Department of Corrections sold burritos and fish sandwiches that made $620. The annual online auction allowed county and courts employees to donate items and then bid on each item, similar to eBay. The auction made $3,400. Thank you to the departments and employees that donated. A special thanks to Joe Atkinson from our IT department, Lori Hoover from the Treasurer's Office, David Padilla from Courts, and also Lee Allen from the Appraiser's Office. I would also like to thank some businesses that donated gift certificates. Hotel Topeka, formerly known as Capitol Plaza, Reese's Fine Foods, the Globe Indian Restaurant, Mars Chocolate Factory, Absolute Design by Brenda on Kansas Avenue, El Centenario Mexican Restaurant, Eagle Auto Wash, Orscheln's, Hills Pet Food, the Kansas City Zoo, Starlight Theater in Kansas City, National World War Museum in Kansas City, and David's Jewelers. Our grand total to give to Project Topeka this year is $6,275.50. Now I would like to invite Kimberly Wolf, a Project Topeka board member, to come up and say a few words.
Good, I need support, so. Hi, Kimberly Wolf, Shawnee County Parks and Rec, but today I'm over here supporting Project Topeka. I have Mary Ann Kramer with us. She's been on the board much longer than I have, so she has probably a little bit more information, but I just want to say thank you for all of the county's support and for the work that you have put into Project Topeka. This $6,275 will go to help support the 7 food banks that we continue to support, as well as our Fun Food Friday project. I don't know if you're aware of it, but we have 3 elementary schools, Randolph, Lowman Hills, and stout that we packed over 850 bags every week to provide to these kiddos, whether they're free and reduced lunches or not. There's no stigma along with this. They get to take these home to their families. And a fun fact, maybe not a fun fact, but a fact maybe you don't know is if a child goes home hungry over the weekend, it's Wednesday before they can start to retain the information that they're learning or should be learning in schools. So we are very proud of this project, and the donations that the county continues to give us will allow us to continue these projects. So we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything that you've done, and I know it's a lot of work and effort, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
We have the large check, if we want to do a photo with.
Okay.
Is there in the middle?
Okay. I'll let you guys get in. And I'll let you
Stephanie, you should be in this photo.
Okay, from 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Kevin. Yeah. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and Stephanie, thank you for everything you've done on this. I know that you put a lot of work in coordinating the auction and the fundraisers and everything else, and even arranging for a giant check to present, so thank you as well. Next item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Okay, we do have several items on the consent agenda. I am going to pull item 3B off of the consent agenda. And so other than that, I will make a motion that we approve all but 3B.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Okay. Under sales tax, Kansas Department of Transportation, electric fund transfer of $850,000 is for the 5th loan payment. This is the 5th of 10 payments on the Willard Bridge. Under equipment fund, J. Warren Company, Inc., totaling $60,000. It's for the purchase and installation of Victorian-style lightings in Boswell and Collins Park. Under federal grant, paid with ARPA shuttered fund venues, Stage Pro, Inc., $221,150 is for masking curtain systems for the upper seating area of Landon Arena. Under general expenses, for lineage mailing service, $120,000 is for postage. Under solid waste recycling, Elliott Equipment Company, $111,945 is for container handling refuge truck. So as of March 11th, 2022, total vouchers is $3,063,634.58. There's no questions. I would move for approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Okay, got a motion made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move that we approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Planning Department number 1, public hearing and consider approval of resolution number 2022-20, a conditional use permit to allow a wireless telecommunication tower at 6540 Southwest 21st Street on a 3.97 acre property zoned RR1 residential reserve in Mission Township.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Anderson, Planning Department. Before you today is a request for a conditional use permit to install a 130-foot tall wireless telecommunication tower at 6540 Southwest 21st Street in Mission Township. The property is located just a little, about 2 blocks east of Urish Road at that location. Here you see the property. Urish Road is just off the left edge of this map. The property location is this little yellow box that's on the larger parent property, on the subject property. The city of Topeka is the area shown in blue in this map. So the city is close, and part of that area was part of the notification area. That's a general location we're talking about. The area that received notice is everything that's cross-hatched in this box, which covers 200 feet into the city of Topeka's territory. Of that area, we received petitions that were verified by the county councilor and the county clerk on the properties shown in the cross-hatching. These properties total 39.8% of the area that received notice. So by virtue of that occurrence, they do trigger the supermajority vote, which in the case of 3 members is a 3-0 vote in order to approve the request. Just give you some bearings on the size of the property and its proximity to adjoining properties. This shows you the measurements from the proposed center of the tower location to the adjoining properties. They clearly tried to push the property as far to the east as they possibly could, still allowing enough room on the eastern side for the potential collapse of the tower, so that it would remain on this property. It's 209 feet from Southwest 21st Street, 295 feet from the western property line, and 325 to the north. The nearest resident proper building location is over 250 feet away from the center of the tower location. One of the things I wanted to mention up front is there's been some discussion about different things on the property not being placed correctly, that it may be located on an adjoining property or two. Just wanted to show you this to you. We do have a survey. All of the plans and documents that were presented to this commission and to the planning commission they were sealed by a registered land surveyor who's registered in the state of Kansas. So we don't have any reason to be concerned that any existing or proposed improvements are located on the subject property. You may hear testimony to the contrary, but we are satisfied that the survey has been properly done and is accurate based on that survey, on that seal by the surveyor. I'm going to just touch on this very briefly. This is how the site lines up. You have an existing house located on the front of the property. The tower would be located in the back of the property. The existing driveway, which is on the subject property, would be enhanced to provide access to the back of the property and to the square, which is the lease area where the tower would be located. Looking at a little bit bigger picture of it, we asked them to show us where the tree line was located, so we could see that there's trees that are going to be buffering this property, this lease area from the west into the south and in the north as well. The only part of the property that'd be cut out with the trees removed is the area within the lease, is the area in the lease area box that's shown there. The Planning Commission heard this item on February 14th. There were 6 residents who spoke in opposition to the request, and there was also a petition that was signed by 25 persons who were opposed to the CUP. We also received a letter that was submitted by the opposition from an attorney who was not licensed to practice in Kansas, who had findings that he put into a letter which you have in your packet. After hearing all the testimony from everybody concerned, the Planning Commission found that there are technological and quality of service needs that do exist that warrant the need for a new tower. The nearest residence would be located more than 250 feet from the tower location. The tower, if approved, would result in public health and safety benefits, and it would also improve the quality of service, not only in this part of the town where the tower would be located, but also improve the quality of service to the existing tower that would be offloading traffic from from 21st and Highway 470 to this tower. So both locations would see an increase in the quality of service to the new area and existing area. The request does also satisfy the golden factors, which I'll put up for your review here in a minute. And there are state law preemptions that I do want to discuss with you that were brought up during the Planning Commission meeting. In your packet, we touched on, we actually included the full state statute, KSA 66/2019, that covers the entirety of the state law that's relevant to this application. The part I want to focus on is subsection F. There are 18, I call them preemptions, that the county or any jurisdiction is prohibited from considering in the review of a request such as the one before you today. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because several of these were touched on in the Planning Commission meeting, so I just want to review them with what these are things that you cannot do, or the county cannot do. We cannot require information regarding business decisions, customer demand, or quality of service. In other words, we can't require them to show that there's a need because there's dropped calls or there's level of service at the other location east of here that would work in tandem with this tower. We can't require them to provide any proprietary needs, proprietary information about potential locations or why they consider this location as opposed to that location. Number 2 says, we can't. It goes back to what I was saying. We can't require them to show that their capacity is at a level that requires this other tower. We just can't ask them to provide that information. We have to basically acknowledge they have a need, and in the technology that their requirements of that use requires another location. So the first 3 we covered in major detail. There were questions from the neighbors why this site was selected over other sites. Basically, the technology warrants, and we can't question that there's technological needs for the service. Number 10, we can't impose unreasonable requirements on the presentation, appearance, or function of the equipment. In other words, landscaping, the color of the tower, things of that nature. We can acknowledge, though, that they are providing buffering by virtue of selecting a site that's heavily wooded, and that would provide that buffering, but we cannot require them to do anything above and beyond what is considered reasonable. And with a 130-foot tall tower, you just can't buffer the top of the tower. It just can't be done. The big one, though, is number 14. The commission cannot reject an application in whole or in part based on perceived or alleged environmental effects of radio frequency emissions or exposure. That was the crux of a lot of the concerns from the neighbors, that the tower would somehow have a negative impact on their health or their safety. State law preempts that, and the state law is based on the 1996 Telecommunications Act, which basically says we, the federal government, we have a need to roll this technology out. We've studied it, we've examined it, and we are requiring states and local jurisdictions to implement it. So, you can find a study that's pro and con towers and the perceived implications on public health, but we cannot go there. That's preempted by the federal law. And there's others. There's 18 of these, but number 14 is the biggest one. The biggest one is 14, the health, and number 3, the other locations, whether another location is more suitable or practical. Those address most of the concerns that the neighbors had. So the Planning Commission was made aware of these preemptions, and their vote was made accordingly. There's the the golden factors, these are all recited in your staff report, and there's testimony provided by staff on each one of these, what the character of the neighborhood and the zoning is, and each one of these is addressed in the staff report. I'd be happy to touch on any one of those if you have a question about our findings, recommendation. Based on all this testimony and information that pertains to this request, the Planning Commission on February 14th, by a 4-0 vote, voted to recommend approval, subject to the two conditions listed. 1A and 1B have been satisfied as of last week by the applicant. We do have an FAA clearance letter that was issued, and we do have a sealed letter from a structural engineer certifying that the tower, if it were to collapse, will collapse on the subject property and not onto any other adjoining property. And condition number 2, we are limiting explicitly the height is limited to 130 feet, excluding any warning lights or a lightning rod. We know they are planning to put a 5-foot tall lightning rod on it, but other than that, what they've submitted basically complies with the state statutes, the federal regulations, and we believe complies with all the golden factors that are listed in your staff report. At this point, the County Commission will conduct a public hearing and may take action on the CUP following that. As I said before, a supermajority 3-0 vote is required to approve. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions now or after your public hearing.
Commissioner Rippon.
Randy, I had a question. Can you pull up the slide that shows the property lines? Okay,
Want that one or?
that's right here. No, the next one, the other one you had.
Okay.
So the cell tower and this house, they're all on the same property?
Correct,
Okay, so it's a lease agreement then from this person?
exactly.
Okay. All right. I'm
It's a-
confused what, okay.
It's a 75 by 75 foot square, I believe, are the dimensions of it.
Okay, and then their access would be the existing drive.
Right, here is the house. The footprint of the house is shown there, and I believe it's about 180 feet from the back of the house to the lease area itself.
So they're outside the fall zone.
Yeah,
This tree line along the east property, would that be affected, or would those trees remain?
those trees will all remain. The only trees that we removed are the ones that happen to fall within the box. So, I know there's trees right in here in the lease area. Those would come down, but the tree line is way to the west and to the south. This cursor's not the greatest. But, yeah, all the trees that surround it would remain. And the thing that I would say about those trees is that it's one of those phenomenons. The closer you are to the tower, by virtue of those trees, the less of the tower you'll see. You have to go further away before if you're standing on the ground on those properties, you're going to see the canopy of those trees, and you will see the very top of the tower, but the trees will block the base of the tower and a pretty considerable part of the height of the tower. The further away you go from the property, the more of the full extent of the tower you'll see.
Yeah, I was kind of concerned about the tree line along that drive. They'll be preserved though along there.
The applicant can tell you more about that than I can. He's showing trees. My memory of the property is that there's not as many trees to the south of that tree line. They are showing a couple that are down here.
But on the other side of the road, on the would be the east side.
Yeah.
Randy, could you go back to the satellite image that you showed at the
Yeah,
beginning
that might
of
be
your
a good shot of
presentation?
that.
You want to go see?
That right there.
It's hard to tell. I mean, the tree line looks like it starts about halfway between the front of the property and where the site widens
Okay.
to its full width on the back of the property. But they are showing, if you go back to this other picture, they are showing that there's a tree line right here. You see it's identified right here as tree line.
Yeah.
So you can see where it is. Some of that is off-site, some of it is on-site. Looks like most of this property most of the property between the driveway and the property line would remain with the trees. They are showing some that are out here also that would remain according to the notes.
This driveway, is this a paved driveway,
It's
concrete?
a gravel driveway, and they are proposing the minimal fine gravel, which was a staff requirement, so that it mitigates the likelihood of dust. But regardless of the dust question, there's only, because the building it's an unmanned station, the amount of traffic going back out to the property is minimal. Maybe once or twice a month, someone will go out there and need to do something in the on the base to tweak the antenna or something with the electronics or something like that. It basically it runs itself most of the year, but there won't be any kind of traffic going back and forth there on a daily basis. It'd be very sporadic.
The one structure back there, I think it's
Chicken
referred to as
coop.
the chicken coop.
Yep.
Is that in the fall zone, or?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But it is a chicken coop, so if something were to happen, they have to be reimbursed for the birds.
Okay.
Any other questions for Randy? Okay. We do need to open a public hearing on this, and so I would make a motion that we open a public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We're in a public hearing right now, so would ask the applicant to come up first.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Ruff, and I serve as the Regional Vice President for AT&T. My role with the company is basically threefold. One, I'm responsible for our overall legislative agenda. Two, all of our external affairs engagement throughout the state of Kansas. And then thirdly, our community and philanthropic investment efforts here in the state of Kansas. So commission members and members of the community, first off, I just want to say thank you all for the opportunity to be with you all this morning as we present our case as it relates to this new cell site. Over the last 3 years, AT&T has invested over $500 million into our network in terms of improving network coverage, reliability, and further enhancements. What this tower represents is new technological investments as it relates to 5G and wireless capabilities. And one of the things I mean by that is in terms of AT&T FirstNet services. This is a service that we offer to our first responders community, law enforcement, fire, and EMS, meaning that these individuals have priority and preemption in terms of communication, especially in times of disasters and major situations. So for example, I want to say over the last 2 weeks, there was a wildlife fire down in Reno County that severely impacted that community, right? One of the beauties of this FirstNet service is that our first responders have what I like to call a HOV highway in terms of their ability to communicate with each other in these tragic situations, right? And so this tower is meant to do the same in terms of the ability for us to connect and communicate. And on a more global effort, one of the things that we've noticed is from the pandemic, there's been an increased demand on not only AT&T's network, but all providers' network in terms of us being able to work remotely, learn from home, as well as, just enjoy sofa time with our loved ones, right? In terms of streaming our favorite shows off of Netflix and Hulu. So what that has caused is we've seen a huge increase in our network demand in terms of just streaming and creating more congestion. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to make sure that we're further investing into our network to relieve that congestion and make sure that we have a great customer service on the back end, a great customer service experience on the back end. So we're here today to further invest within the state of Kansas and more importantly, invest in this local community right here. And with that being said, I would like to introduce my colleague to tell you more about just the technical aspects of this site and why we selected this site. It's further important in terms of network coverage. And lastly, just wanting to give you all the information as we have it readily available at the moment. Glenn?
Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Glenn Clockey, and I am with Network Real Estate out of St. Charles, Missouri. We are contracted with AT&T Wireless to do their site acquisition for many, many sites over Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas. So this particular location, how a tower location is selected is the engineering department from AT&T will give us what's called a search ring, saying, look, we have a hole that we need to cover. We're getting a lot of drop calls in the closest towers, so we need to, number one, offload some traffic from the closest towers because there's, it's just grown to a point where there's too much traffic on it. And we have no coverage in this area. This particular location is going to provide both of those. We're going to be able to offload traffic from, there's a tower to the east about 1.5 miles, I think right off of Highway 470, and it will provide additional coverage for the residents in the area. It is going to be a 130-foot monopole, which is, if you've probably seen them all over the city, it looks like a big light pole with antennas at the top. It will have an array of antennas at the top of the tower on the platform. The lease area is 70 by 70 feet. We'll have a chain link fence around it, a 6-foot chain link fence, and we will fence in an area of 50 by 50 where all the equipment that is associated with that tower will be inside that chain link area. The access road is coming off an existing driveway that is there at this property. It is 12 feet wide. As Randy mentioned, it's going to be the low dust gravel. We do build a very nice road for the equipment to get back there. We put landscaping fiber under so the weeds don't come through, and they do maintain it, as well as the lease area. It will be all gravelled with the same amount of gravel. I think it's 4 inches of gravel. This location is really was selected because it was number one, we had a landlord who was interested. It was well within the search ring. It provided the coverage that the engineers were looking for. And the one thing that we did like about it was that it was buffered by trees. When we're finished building this tower, the only trees that will be taken down is the area that's about a 75 by 70 foot, probably about a 75 by 70 foot area. And completely all the way around this tower will still be a lot of trees. It'll be buffered by a lot of trees. You won't see the base of this tower. You won't see the equipment probably at all. To the east, where we're running the access road, there's a buffer of trees, and the area is really grown. It's really heavily grown with vines and stuff, plus trees. The only tree that's going to be taken out of that where that road's going, I think there's one big tree that's going to have to be removed because it's right in our way. So that will be removed. The chicken coop is there. I don't think it's being used, and it's not in the fall zone. So, if it were to come down, it wouldn't hit the chicken coop. And we did provide a letter to the county stating that if this tower were to fall, it would fall within the 65-foot fall zone that's required by the city. So, and if you have any other questions, please ask them.
Any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this CUP? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to opponents. I've got 3 people signed up here. First one would be Paula Pry.
Good morning. My name is Paula Pry. I live in the subdivision of Broadview Acres off 21st Street. The cell tower being proposed at 6540 Southwest 21st Street. I am here today to oppose the tower being built in this location. I have lived in this neighborhood for 17 years. I chose this specific neighborhood because everyone has a large lot and many homes have some wooded area. This area has a lot of wildlife and great views. When I walk out into my backyard, I have a beautiful view of the woods. That beautiful view will be gone if that tower is put up in this location. There are other locations in town this tower could go. This will also affect home values in this area. Some people simply won't want to live under or next to the tower. In the protest portion of this process, I collected around 55% of the signatures of the property owners within the 1,000 square foot area around this proposed tower. 2 were tossed out due to not being notarized, one of which the person lives out of town, the other one lives out of state. And a few others were tossed out because both spouses did not sign, of which I didn't realize that they needed to. On the regular petition, out of the 31 properties involved, I collected 27 signatures. One I never could get a hold of. One is where the property owner where the tower is being proposed, and 2 people that just didn't want to get involved. Not only will this tower be unattractive, it can be a danger to the neighborhood from fire, ice, and tornadoes. The people in this neighborhood purchased their homes the way it is now, not with a giant 130-foot tower to look at. As you are aware, state and federal laws seem to be written for big corporations instead of safety and the well-being of residents. We, the people of this neighborhood, still have rights, and we don't want this tower. We hope you as commissioners with the power and ability will hear the people and vote no. Also, I sent each one of you videos, pictures of dangers, safety problems that could happen. I wanted to also thank Bill and Kevin for taking the time to talk to me over this the last week. Did you receive the stuff that I have sent you? Because I did not hear back from that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we've got Janet Carter.
I have a question. Is it possible for me to go last?
Okay, sure. Then we would move to Mary Dodson.
Sure. Thank you. So my name is Mary Dodson, and I live at 6520 Southwest 21st Street. So if you pull up that picture of the little yellow pad, that's where the neighbors wanting the AT&T tower, and I'm right next door to it. So first of all, I just wanted to let you know, and I have mentioned this in the email that I sent all of you, my daughter has a brain tumor, and she has a magnetic shunt, and that shunt is regulated by the magnets, and that's what makes her or helps her live. So my concern is with this tower, she shouldn't be around that. She goes to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota for her treatment, and her oncologist said that even though there's not evidence yet, he said it's going to probably be a few years when people find out what's going on with these towers, but he wouldn't advise her to be around it. And she does live with me part-time. So that's my greatest concern as well. In addition to just the natural timber, that I look at every morning through my kitchen window, and I spend a lot of time outside during the spring, summer, and fall. And I've watched the wildlife and just the beauty of the timber. I have like 3 sides of it. So that is a concern that I'm going to be looking up from my window or in my backyard, seeing that tower. And even though there's supposedly trees that will go around it, or I won't see it, I know I'll be able to see it from just looking up. So that's another concern. And then the other thing is, why would a tower be built in an older, already established neighborhood when I know so many other properties that are even for sale right now that it could be put in? I'm not against the 5G tower, but just not in the neighborhood right next door to me, because it's right next door to my building. And then I just wanted to also let you know, I'm in the process of getting my land surveyed, because I have reason to believe that part of that driveway is some of my property, including the existing chimney that was from an old building that was torn down. So I don't know if that's part of the chicken coop that you guys are talking about, but anyway, so I'm in the process of doing that, so I just wanted to let you know that. So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say. I think that's it. But I thank you for your time, and I also want to thank the two commissioners who I spoke with in person, not in person, on the phone, excuse me, for listening to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, and then Janet?
Thank you for letting me go last. My name is Janet Carter. I live at 6114 Southwest 21st Terrace, but I do have 4 properties in this location, in this neighborhood. And even though you cannot deny the tower based on health risk, the studies are real and prove this is hazardous and a matter of life or death. You've heard from Mary about her daughter who has health problems, and due to and per Mayo Clinic, this is dangerous and life-threatening for her. You've been provided notarized protest petition from the residents of the neighborhood showing concern and dissatisfaction of placing the cell tower here. You've also been provided many photos of safety concerns when the towers catch fire, wind, tornado damage, blown down towers, ice debris falling, and simply tower collapsing. While these issues may be rare, they do exist. My question is, do you want to be responsible if this would occur to this neighborhood, resulting with lives lost and considerable property damage? I am a licensed real estate broker, have been for 46 years. I do hundreds of broker price opinions. This tower will have a negative impact on property value for these residents. Plus, the desire to live in this older, well-established neighborhood may diminish due to this tower being located so close to the homes. Homeowners take into consideration the neighbors, neighborhoods, how well the homes are kept up, and the view. Looking at a 130-foot tower is not attractive. The trees in this area, they said at the Planning Commission, could grow 30 to 50 foot tall. The tower is 130 foot, so the tower is going to be well over the top of the trees. I've also spoken to 2 appraisers who said this would have a negative effect on property values. There was a study done in Bohemia, New York, that said property values can drop as much as 25% due to a cell tower's location. Now there's also the possibility of the federal government not backing new mortgages on homes located within a certain radius of cell towers. And that's not even to consider what is the cost of homeowner insurance going to be when it comes out that these could be a hazard and a danger. Is the homeowner's insurance going to go up based on the location of the towers? And finally, I know Kansas statute seems to be designed to accommodate telecoms at the expense of citizens. This tower can be denied based on aesthetics, visual blight, damage to neighborhood character, property value, depreciation, and danger to public safety. Fire hazard, tower collapse, debris from falling tower as a result from tornadoes or ice storms. You have been provided proof of the safety factors that can happen with these cell towers. I ask that you take into consideration all of the issues I have mentioned and ask yourself if you want to be responsible for the safety of the residents and property value decline due to this tower. And would any of you want this tower in your backyard? We ask that you please vote no to this location. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for any of the proponents or opponents?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we might, I mean, I know that there may be people that arrive later than the meeting after it started. If we can just ask if there are any other individuals that did not have the chance to sign up.
Sure. Are there any individuals that'd like to speak that did not get signed up? Okay,
Good.
Seeing none?
All right.
All right. Do we ask the applicant to come back up? I think we've done that before in the past, so. Did you have any anything additional you'd like to add?
No additional comments from me.
Okay.
I just want to address a couple, as far as the health factor on this. We do towers all over the United States. We are, what AT&T broadcasts at and what all carriers broadcast at is set by the FCC. So, and we're well within the FCC regulations. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and we put systems inside hospitals. So, I think that they, as far as it being something that's hazardous to people in hospitals, they wouldn't do it. I mean, we put in indoor systems in hospitals because they want that coverage. And as far as the property values, towers they're all over the place. I mean, we have areas that I've done where $1 million homes are being built up to the tower. So we don't feel like it really does diminish the property values at all. So, and as far as the mortgage companies, I've checked into that, and I can't find any mortgage company that won't give a loan to a house that's near a tower. I mean, I really have. I've looked into that thoroughly. I don't know where that is, but I've heard that. But we have done some research on it, and we just can't find that. So, I'm not saying it hasn't happened somewhere in the United States. It's just we have done our diligence, and we just can't find mortgage companies that will not do that. So, but thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion.
Do you want to speak again? If that would be possible.
Sure. Yep, that's fine.
I'd like to show you a picture.
Okay.
That is a picture of my backyard. Those trees are around 30 foot tall.
Okay.
Okay.
You can show that to Mr. Clocky as well.
So you can see I'll have a beautiful view of that tower. That's all I will see when I walk out into my yard. I just want you to know.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook to close the public hearing. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Any further discussion?
if we
Yes.
can call upon our county counselor, or assistant county counselor, Mr. Brazon, just again to outline our factors that we would consider or not consider in an application.
Sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jonathan Brazon, Assistant County Counselor. I think Randy did a pretty good job of outlining the things that you can't consider under state statute. One thing I did want to add to that is the reason why that state statute was adopted. In 2016, the legislature passed that law, and in doing so, the findings that they made were, number one, the permitting, construction, modification, maintenance, and operation of wireless facilities are critical to ensuring that all citizens in the state have access to broadband. Number two, the facilities are critical to ensuring that businesses and schools throughout the state remain competitive in the global economy. Number three, wireless telecommunications facilities enable broadband service that has a significant economic benefit. And number four, the permitting, construction, modification, maintenance, and operation of these facilities to the extent specifically addressed in this section are declared to be matters of statewide concern and interest. And so in doing that, they adopted those 18 restrictions to ensure uniformity across the state with respect to every application for a wireless telecommunications facility. Randy also touched on the golden factors. I'll just read those off to you. These are the things that you should consider. Yeah, thanks, Randy. The character of the neighborhood, the zoning uses of nearby properties, the suitability of the property for the uses to which it is restricted, the extent to which the change will detrimentally affect nearby property, the length of time the property has been vacant as zoned. Number 6 is the gain to the public health, safety, and welfare by the possible diminution in the value of the developer's property as compared to the hardship imposed on the individual landowners. Number 7, the recommendations of a permanent or professional planning staff. And number 8, conformance to the city's, or in this case, the county's master or comprehensive plan. So those are the things you should consider. You have to answer any questions.
But Jonathan, it seems as if the golden factors are in direct contradiction to the law that the legislature passed. I mean, in many ways, the number 6 there, the public health and safety, it basically says we're not allowed to take that into consideration. The suitability of the property, they kind of say we can't take that into consideration. I mean, I don't understand, what trumps what.
Right. Well, Golden, I will say this, Golden is a Supreme Court case from 1978, and the state statute that we're working with was adopted in 2016, so the later prevails, the later authority prevails in this case. But there are still golden factors that do apply: character of the neighborhood, suitability for which it's restricted, detrimental effect on the nearby property. We've heard some of that isn't within the 16 or 18 exceptions. So I agree there is some conflict, but there's also some factors that would still apply.
Do you know of any case law that spells that out?
No, and there's certainly no cases that say Golden is no longer good law. So, and there's also no cases that say this state statute is not good law. So,
okay. Further questions for Jonathan?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Any further discussion?
I would just note that I had 5 emails concerning this, this issue. I had 1 phone call and 1 conversation via a Ring doorbell, and interesting. But, I don't know if you guys disclose that.
That's the first.
That's the first.
Madam Clerk, you might want to go back and check. I think it's the first time we've had ex parte communication via Ring doorbell.
That is true.
So I'll disclose, I did receive also several emails, several voicemails. I spoke with a representative from AT&T last week briefly to get a bunch of questions answered as a result of some of the emails that I had received. So, but I feel I can still make an impartial decision.
Likewise, I've received emails from neighborhood individuals. I also spoke with Paula Pry and Mary Dotson last week.
Okay.
This is a tough one, where we apparently are very restricted by state statutes on what we can and can't consider on this one.
Well, I'll just sort of mention, when I was on the city council, we had an issue like this. There was a cell tower going up in a neighborhood in Topeka that was actually turned down by the city council. After about a month of litigation, that cell phone tower was approved and put up because it was basically determined that what we had done had gone against the law that was passed by the legislature. I would say that it's very difficult to turn these down based on the laws that are presented to us. Well, I certainly sympathize with the neighbors, though.
What were the city's reasons for declining?
It was more or less the golden number 1, the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was in a residential area, a dense residential area.
Well, it was similar to this situation.
I would say it was not. It was an urban setting that was very dense, small lots, kind of right in the middle, but.
Did the courts feel like you'd violated the state statute, or what was their reasoning?
You know, honestly, I don't remember the details of it. And my city email account has been deleted since then, so I can't really go back and check the details, but. Any additional discussion? Okay, it does require a 3-0 vote, it's my understanding, if this were to pass, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve.
If we don't approve it, what would be the next step? Was there just be a...
Watch your email.
Watch your email. There would be no next step for us. I don't know.
I'll give it another 10 seconds, and then I'm going to say that the motion dies. All right, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Commissioner Rippon, are you having concerns about whether or not this should be sent back to the Planning Commission for additional evaluation?
Yes. I think we should. Is there any way our planning commission can work with AT&T? Maybe find, maybe to look at alternatives for our planning director?
Are there things that you maybe think that the Planning Commission hadn't considered, or information that wasn't presented to them that was?
I don't know. What are your feelings?
Well, if you believe that there are things that the Planning Commission hadn't considered or should have considered, that would be proper for them to reevaluate. If you're opposed to the cell tower, we would need to take that vote today.
Mr. Mays, you have any thoughts?
I mean, not really. I mean, if we were to send it back to the planning commission, that's one thing, but we've got to have a reason to do so, in my opinion.
Mr. Chairman, while we are commissioners of the entire county, we do have designated districts. This falls within Commissioner Rippon's district, and so taken some time just to kind of look to the Commissioner Rippon, since this is impacting his constituents in his district, as to
It's apparent the constituents that live around this tower are not in favor of it. Can we still ask questions of the?
Yeah, absolutely.
In your evaluation for finding location for a tower, were there other alternatives or sites that you looked at?
Yeah, there were several.
if you, Mr. Locke, if you take the stand.
Yeah, the answer to that question was there were several. We've been working on this particular search ring for about 4 years. So we have looked at many other locations. We looked at properties that were for sale. You have to keep in mind when they issued the search ring is a 1/4 mile round, so it was extremely small. And there's a reason it's that size, because their coverage objectives are very specific. They need coverage right here. So we've looked at, we probably looked at 2 or 3 other possible locations that were big enough that we could comply with the setback requirements. And then you have to have a willing landlord to sit down and negotiate a lease with also. That's part of it. So yeah, there were many other locations that were considered. Some were outside the search ring, because sometimes we do that. Engineering said wouldn't cover their objectives. So yeah, we looked at quite a few other locations.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Recently, the county entered into an agreement for the placement of a 5G tower upon the Stormont Vale Event Center that would enhance the user's experience at the Stormont Vale Event Center, as well as the outstanding areas around the event center.
Okay.
Did AT&T consider placement of a 5G tower at the Westridge Mall, as this would enhance the ability of those users, those that are still left at the mall, as well as the surrounding neighborhood?
The mall was considered, it was looked at, they were contacted. I think there were 2 different property owners in there that I did contact. They showed no interest in doing a tower there. So that was one of our property owners that we did contact. We typically, when we get a search ring, we will evaluate that search ring, and we'll look at, okay, what are we dealing with the city or the county? What's the zoning, what's our code, what do we have to do, how much room do we have to have? And I will target every property in there, either by, I'll send them a letter of interest. Typically, I will either send them a letter, call them, or what I do a lot is I go out to the area and I will canvass the area personally. So some property owners just aren't available. They're not on site, so I will send them a letter. So that was one of the property owners that we did contact.
And was that contact prior to the recent sale of Westridge Mall or after?
I don't know when it was sold.
It was sold within the last 60 days?
No, it was prior to that.
Okay.
So-
So yeah, there's been a change of ownership for the Westridge Mall. It is no longer owned by the people that you would have been speaking with.
Okay, well, when we get these search rings, we contact who the owners are at that time. When we get down this far down the road, we have a lease, we're working, we're working with cities, we're working getting things approved. So no, I did not, at 60 days out, we don't contact anybody else. So,
Would the Westridge Mall provide you the same area of coverage that you were looking at for this tower?
it's a lot lower. I do remember that the ground elevation was a lot lower. I remember talking to the engineering department about it, and they were concerned about the ground elevation. Ground elevation is a key factor in their decision to put a tower at a location that works for them. I do remember that it was a lot lower. Offhand, I mean, it's something that it probably wouldn't, but, it's something that the RF is always willing to look at. So, I mean, but to move something is pretty tough, because it's a, it's a very small searching area, but, yeah, I mean, we'd have to talk to RF, and they'd have to determine that.
The area that we're looking at, Randy, can you pull up the map? And going to where you can see Urish Road. Thank you. When we look at Urish Road, the area that is just to the west of 21st and south of Urish is where the Shawnee County has Midwest Health and Family Park. Would that area have been considered for placement?
You're going to have to point that out.
Commissioner Rippon, can you?
It's not on this one. We'd have to, can we pull up the Shawnee County property map or something like that?
Do you want me to speak to that, or?
So, I think I can probably answer.
Actually, we can, Stephanie, or
Yeah, Mark can do it.
Mark, are you getting?
Mark's
we can hold tight for just 1 second.
Sure.
And while he's doing that, the reason I'm asking is for an area that is maybe perhaps less populated density, but it's giving you the elevation that perhaps you might be looking for.
Where I get both properties. So, and the property that's being discussed, come on, where is right over here, and then this here is county property.
So, this particular search ring, and most of the search rings that AT&T issues us is a quarter-mile round, which means it's like 750 feet in any direction. That would be too far to the south. That would not be considered. It just wouldn't work for their coverage objectives and the surrounding sites to this location.
The reason I ask again is Westridge Mall would appear to be roughly the same amount of distance from that tower location that you're proposing today as the corner of 21st and Urish. And Commissioner Rippon, you want to point where that's at, just for the two spots, because there's the fire station.
There, this is, let me move that over just.
Right.
Let me click this off. Click on that. I can't see lost the mouse or the pointer. There you go. Okay.
Can we just zoom in?
Yeah, I can see it. No, I can see it.
So
So, yeah, the mall,
This is the mall. It's
Correct,
Westridge Mall.
correct.
This is
The-
the site where.
we're there.
Or right in here is what we're discussing. This, of course, was that
Yes.
golf course area.
And then you have the fire station on the corner.
Correct.
Right, we have the fire station at 21st and
So,
Urish.
the mall was contacted, and like I said, at the time, they were not interested. That, the new ownership was, I'm not aware of if it happened 60 days ago. Like I said, once we get down the road on the tower, we no longer contact property owners around the area.
Commissioner Rippon, would that be a factor that you may want to have this consideration sent back to the Planning Commission for them to contact the mall ownership?
I think that'd be a consideration now that we have a new owner. They might be.
The alternative would be to defer any action on this and to have it come back to our commission, is rather than having it go to the Planning Commission, have it just be deferred any action and to have it come back to us.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that'd be good. What about the Menard property just to the back side? They have no
The
interest?
the Menards did not.
Okay.
Keep in mind also, I know I received, and I think you guys were all carbon copied on it, there was a land owner that was upset that the cell phone tower was not on their property also.
Correct.
So that's another interesting,
That was one of the other candidates that we had looked at, so yeah, and that happens.
Well, I would like to defer till they have an opportunity to talk to the new landowners at Westridge Mall.
April the 14th is a Thursday. That is, Commissioner Mays, are we all planning on being here on the 14th?
let me double
Because the 18th
check.
we're considering for cancellation due to the canvassing.
I will be gone the 14th.
Do you want to pick the 11th?
The 11th would be probably the best. It'd be either 11th or the 21st.
21st? Commissioner Rippon, 11th or 21st?
Either one's fine with me.
Would the, coming back on April the
Wait.
11th give you enough time?
Excuse me, 21st. I think we're all going to be gone. I think we're going to cancel that for the inter-city visitors during that time.
So the
So
The 11th
it'd
give
be
you
the
sufficient
11th.
time?
Yes, it would give me time to contact the property owner, yes.
Commissioner Rippon, are you making a motion to defer action on this until April the 11th?
I am.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made to defer action by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Next item, please.
Item C, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of a request for equipment replacement utilizing the Sourcewell Cooperative to purchase a Bobcat L28 small articulator loader for a cost of $39,082.54 with funds from the capital outlay and authorization and execution of contract C82-2022 for same.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. So this morning, we are asking to replace a Bobcat that we currently use. It was purchased in 1999. It has definitely lived its useful life. This piece is a little bit different. It's an articulated loader, which essentially means it's a little smaller and can get in and out of tighter spaces and less turf damage and things like that. So we want to utilize the Sourcewell Cooperative, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Tim?
I do
You know
not.
what the availability of a piece of equipment like this is?
Well, so far, I don't know a timeline. I don't know, Brent, if you heard a timeline on this,
Everything
but
just seems to be on.
but I would imagine there will probably be some delays on us getting it.
Yeah.
I know you can't go up to the lot right now and buy one, so.
There's also some questions as to whether or not this price is going to remain the same also. correct?
Actually, Commissioner Mays, I found out right before we stepped into the meeting here today, after I spoke to you earlier, that those concerns are actually on the piece that we have that was already approved.
Okay.
So, so far, nothing on this one, but we might have to revisit that piece, the mini excavator.
I hope not.
Me too.
All
I'll
right.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Next item, please.
Item D, Public Works. Number 1, consider approval of request to award bid to Vance Brothers, Inc. for up to 280,000 gallons of RS-1HM road oil for purchase in 2022 as a unit cost of $2.24 per gallon and a potential maximum expenditure of $627,200. Funding will depend on where the material is being used.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. This is the first of 2 items for road oil this morning. The first one here is a material that we use on chip seals. We do quite a bit of chip seals throughout the county every year. We've split the county into 4 quadrants, essentially 4 districts. And next year, we'll be working in the northwest slash southwest part of the county. In order to complete that work, we need this RS-1HM oil, and we received 2 bids. The best bid was at $2.24. It does represent an increase of 33 cents a gallon over 2021, but that is the nature of the world we live in right now. We need this material. We cannot wait. We anticipate the price will continue to increase. And furthermore, when we're ready to do a project, we don't have time to go out and source materials. So I recommend that I'm hoping or recommend that the commission approve this award.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item D2, consider approval of request to award bid to Vance Brothers, Inc. for up to 12,000 gallons of CRS-1H road oil for purchase in 2022 at a unit cost of $2.19 per gallon and a potential maximum expenditure of $26,280. Funding will depend on where the material is being used.
Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. This material, again, it's a road oil, but it's used for spray patching. Come out of winter, we've got potholes, and this is a material that we use to fill potholes, and we use it to fill cracks and things like that. It's a great material for waterproofing our roads. The price, 2 bidders again. The price is, the low and best bid was $2.19 per gallon, which represents actually a penny decrease from last year. So I'm recommending approval of this award.
Kurt, are these bids guaranteed? I mean,
as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I know oil prices have jumped quite a bit in the last
I'm
couple of
guessing that, quite frankly, I'm guessing that the vendors have taken the volatility of the pricing into account.
Okay.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Kurt, I had one more question kind of related to this. If townships need this type of oil, do they get that from us, or are they on their own to buy?
It depends on the bid. Let's see here. On this road oil, I didn't notice that it was open to other entities, but some of our bids, it does allow the vendor to provide that same price to other entities. In this case, I don't see where the contract does that.
Okay.
So to answer your question, if I'm correct, that does not transfer to other entities, they would be on their own.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item, please.
Item E, Human Resources, number 1, consider approval of the reclassification of position payroll assistant to an accountant 1 payroll, starting at $18.67 per hour, classified not exempt, range 13.
Good morning, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. Angela sends her regrets that she could not be here. This was on Thursday's agenda, which was canceled by snow, and she is out of town today, and Mike is at orientation. But I am familiar with this reorganization. This would allow them to reorganize this position. This would allow them to fill this position with someone that has an accounting background, that would allow them to be more familiar with the accounting aspects of payroll, which include the interface with our accounting systems as well as the reconciliations with that. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Betty?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item F, County Councilor, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C81-2022 with Municode for the codification and online service of the county code, and annual reoccurring cost of Municode fee of $1,195 and a one-time recodification fee of $13,950.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jonathan Brazon, Assistant County Counselor. We received 3 bids. Although Municode was not the lowest bid, we do believe it is the best bid, basically because it will integrate better with our Civic Plus system that we already have. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Jonathan?
No, I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next item, please.
Item G, Sheriff's Office, number 1, consider approval of request to purchase 6 2022 Ford all-wheel drive sport utility vehicles off the Mid-America Council on Purchasing Policy contract for a total of $253,032, utilizing the approved 2022 capital outlay funds as well as budget funds for the purchase.
Good morning, Commissioners. Danny Lottridge, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. We are requesting to purchase 6 Ford Interceptor patrol cars using capital outlay funds and budgeted funds. Just be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Good luck getting them.
I'll move for approval.
Absolutely.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Major. Next item, please.
Item H, Commission, number 1, consider canceling the Monday, April 18th Commission meeting. The Commissioners will be meeting as the Board of Canvassers at the Election Office.
Okay. As the clerk said, we will be canceling our Monday, April 18th meeting to meet as the Board of County Canvassers. So I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item H2, reflect that Commissioner Mays is reappointing Sean Leisinger to the Topeka Shawnee County Public Library Board of Trustees for a 4-year term expiring April 30th, 2026.
Mr. Leisinger's term is up. He's currently serving as the treasurer of the library board. In order to maintain some consistency there, I'm going to move that we reappoint him.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 5, public comment.
We have one person signed up for public comment today, and that is John Appen. And please correct me if I'm mispronouncing your name.
It's Ethan.
Okay, Ethan,
Okay.
sorry.
I'm here again this morning because I've had experience in this, and I've dealt with landowners before. I've worked for the state of Kansas. I was a construction inspector, and in that time, I found that when you were dealing with the public, the thing that they hated the most, that made them most angry, was the surprise. Mr. Caldwell, one of the guys that we've dealt with, landowner, I was instructed as an inspector not to speak to Mr. Caldwell, that anything I was to say to him was to refer to them to the actual engineers, not say a word, because he was very disruptive, angry, and coming at the surveyors who were on his property unannounced very angrily. So I am a nice guy. I'm driving down the road, construction project. I stop, because county roads, you stop, let each other pass. Well, this guy starts talking to me, asking me questions. I'm talking to him. And he goes, "Oh, man, you're the first person to actually talk to me about this stuff and actually give me some information." He goes, "Why don't you come up to the house and have a Dr. Pepper with me?" "All right, what's your name?" "Mr. Caldwell." "Oh, not supposed to be talking to this guy." This is bad. So I go on up to his house, have Dr. Pepper and cookies with him, and then I went and talked to the chief engineer. I said, "Hey, that guy I'm not supposed to talk to?" "Yeah." "Oh, well, I talked to him." He goes, "What do you say?" "Well, he wants to talk to you." And so it finally opened a dialogue of discussion between the landowner and the chief engineer, and all he wanted to do was know what was going on. Well, to my surprise, this last week, stakes popped up in my front yard, right-of-way stakes. So the project that you mentioned that was put on hold it appears to be moving full steam ahead. And so the considerations that I was asking about me not losing my creek and the property value of my house because of a running creek on your property, small town, you can't find that anywhere. And and my neighbor, he told me to inform him because he didn't want to come up here and sit because the chairs are uncomfortable in here, so.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right, but he said to keep him informed. But the fact is that we're losing, it's going to, it appears that creek is going away. Our value of our property is going to be going down. The curb appeal for me and for anybody coming in, it's going down. So if the project's going to move forward, we'd like to be at least compensated for the loss of the apparent loss of the value, which, because when you're looking at the creek that is yours and beautiful, and now it's on the other side of the road and not yours, it makes you a little disgruntled. So if that's what's going to happen, I would like for that to at least happen for me and Jerry and my other neighbor who enjoys his creek also. But I would also ask that the reconsideration of the plans be taken into effect, because as I mentioned, their excuse for not putting the new culvert, new boxes in, was because they didn't want to put a guardrail in. And what reason did they put a 90-degree wall on 45th and East Edge Road that directly contradicts any argument that they say for guardrails in that area, because they said they couldn't do that? It's top on my mind. And also your valuations, for the property went up. Well, I got mine, it's in the pocket over there, it says $159,000. In August 2020, my house was appraised for $115,000. I challenged the new evaluation because the property, the county said it was worth $140,000. My appraiser said it was worth $115,000. I bought it for less than that, which was obviously a good deal back then. But still, it was appraised at $115,000. I called, I objected to it, and so I set a hearing for a new valuation with the county appraiser, and I talked to them. So it was $140,000. They wanted to put it up to $147,000. I said $115,000. And they're like, well, we can talk about this. I said, well, let's just meet in the middle. Well, my idea of meeting in the middle was $115,000 to $140,000 would be about $130,000, right? No, their meeting in the middle was $140,000, $147,000, $144,000. They met in their own middle rather than adjusting to mine. So now they've put it on up to $160,000 basically. So is the creek worth, because the appraiser said $115,000 for the house, the creek is worth about, what, $45,000 in value? A curb appeal just on the county alone on their own appraisal, because I have an appraiser that actually appraised my house at $115,000 a year and a half ago. So, and if that's the case, then the actual value of the curb appeal and the street, the property is going to be more than that, because there was a lady that told me that she could sell my house as it sits right now for about $250,000 in that area. I was like, are you kidding me? She goes, no, it'd be considerably less if they take the creek out, because we were discussing different property values. So it's going to adversely affect my property. There's no doubt about that. It's going to adversely affect me and my neighbors. There's no doubt about that. Consideration into taking and replanning this and making it possible for a bent box in that area, because I've been in construction design before of certain areas, and making that to where the intersection is able to be used more effectively going east, because the lack of planning on taking care of the 2 lanes, making it 3 or 4 lanes going east to the Barrington School, which would alleviate the traffic problem, hasn't even been considered. And I've seen it on the plans, because the most I've been communicated to about this is when I reached out for the county engineer and my neighbor. I had to reach out to him, and it was only because of my neighbor that I've been informed of any and all things that have been going on, and the email for the construction project was from my neighbor. So the lack of communication from the engineering department to the landowners in that area is horrible. And I talked to Jerry this morning. He said, did you see all the flags out in front? Yep. And that's why I'm going this morning, Jerry. So that's my concern. I would like to reach out to you for possible more comment on what's going on, on a one-to-one basis, because we are disgruntled in Barrett. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. But, can you hang on just a second?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else from the public here today wishing to speak? Okay, and we'll just go to the next item.
Oh, item 6, administrative communications.
Okay, Kurt?
John, it's good to see you again, former KDOT. There were 3 principal items that John brought up: communication, the creek, and I think he said something about guardrail on Southeast 45th. Let me talk about the guardrail first. When we build bridges, bridges are extremely expensive. We cannot afford to put the bridge rail out beyond the clear zone. Therefore, it's in the clear zone, it's a blunt end, it's a danger to the public, so we're forced to do an end treatment to protect the public from the end of that barrier. A box is different. A box structure, it's easy and relatively inexpensive to extend the hug guard out beyond the clear zone so you don't have guardrail. In general, if you can avoid guardrail, you want to, because guardrail is a hazard. Anything you put in the clear zone is a hazard. Guardrail is placed to create a barrier between the public, the motorist, and a greater hazard. So in this case on Barrington Road, we're trying to avoid any guardrail at all. Guardrail is expensive to maintain. Guardrail is expensive to install. Guardrail, if installed properly, takes a significant amount of land because the end treatment has to be pushed out way beyond the clear zone. So there is an impact when you put guardrail in to the adjacent properties. The creek, what we have proposed on our project impacts your property as little as possible. If we were to route the main channel to the west side of the road, it would completely obliterate what you have. Not only that, it would compete with the property owners further to the south of 69th Street. So what we want to do is we want to move the main channel to the east side of the road, but your channel will still exist. It will be more of a local drainage ditch or a waterway. It will still convey water, it just probably won't convey as much water. As far as communication goes, we haven't started right-of-way negotiations. When we're ready to start right-of-way negotiations, obviously we will be talking to you. I have come to your house and talked to you. So from your perspective, I think that's probably more important. If our communication hasn't been up to snuff, I apologize. But we have communicated with you when you have asked. With that, I look forward to any other comments or questions from the commission.
Kurt, when we do go out and start talking about right-of-way negotiations and stuff, can you bring me along with you?
I absolutely will.
Thanks. Any questions for Kurt?
Kurt, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. I just wanted to just briefly announce that in working with our Health Department, Teresa, and Dr. Locke, that with the paying close attention to the COVID and our response, which has been extremely good, we are in the position now to where we are not mandating masks when you come into the Department of Corrections. We are going to be posting signs that we highly recommend, because of the nature of a setting, that you do still continue to wear a mask. They will be available, and that way we'll be able to start moving towards the trend, what we see. Dr. Locke has been in support of that. However, that if any of the officers, visitors, or anybody needs to go into a module that is quarantined or is dealing with somebody who is symptomatic or is a positive case, they will be required to wear a mask. So we're still going to do that. We're still maintaining our cleaning routines and providing PPE if staff want it. We will do that. We're just moving ahead. This is closer to what other correctional agencies are moving towards, giving our situation. We're still staying close to the CDC when it comes to the recommendations. But I just wanted to let everybody know, because a lot of people come and it's like, oh, I got to run back out to my car to get a mask, things like that. We are moving in that direction. So I just wanted to let everybody know so they have that information.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Morning, Commissioners. Andrew Howell, Shawnee County Election Commissioner. Just wanted to remind Commission and voters of 437 Auburn Washburn School District, we are working on a mail ballot election. We expect those ballots to go in the mail on the 23rd. Under the Mail Ballot Act, we are required to mail every registered voter a ballot for that election. So that will be happening on the 23rd. And then, of course, everybody has until noon on the 12th of April to get those ballots back. So that only applies to folks that live in the 437 district. I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. And then I see you're aware of the plan to do our canvassing on the 18th. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those. But just wanted to, I guess, make sure the public was aware of the date of those ballots going out. And then you've got several days in there to get those back to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Director. Just want to remind everybody that our mini train and carousel are open in Gage Park for spring break. So they're open daily from 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. through March 20th. And then they'll be open on the weekends only through Memorial Day. I also want to remind everybody that we are hiring. We have close to 400 seasonal employees that we'll try to hire this summer, for ranging from camp counselors to sports staff to aquatic staff, park maintenance, golf course maintenance, and more. So we encourage folks to visit us at the website www.sncO.us/OASYS. Please apply. We'd love to have you. Thank you. Yes?
Last year, we had a little bit of an issue of recruiting lifeguards. Is that looking up this year?
Well, we did raise the rate, so we're hiring, new guards will come in at $10.25 an hour, so that's up $2.25 over what we started guards last year. Currently, we have 90 guards that we've hired so far this year. We will need 159 as the goal for this year, so we've got a ways to go. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sure.
About your cell tower earlier, there's these things called tree towers that are mandated by many places around that, I don't know if you've ever seen them before, but they look like giant trees. Yes, it's awkward and taller than the rest of them, but I don't know if you can see it or not. But the tree tower is an option to be able to negotiate that, the tree thing. So
Great, appreciate it. I'll ask about it. All right, Commissioner Rippon.
Oh, gee, I guess I don't have anything to report.
Commissioner Cook.
Well, we were not able to have the retirement party for Mr. Oblander before he left, but I'm sure that he is off enjoying retirement. So I want to thank Mark for stepping in and into that role. Also want to take a moment to thank Parks and Rec. After the snowstorm, I know that they were out making sure all the trails were cleared, and people were heavy at use on them this weekend. So thank you to Parks and Rec.
All right, what kind of a banner weekend this weekend in Topeka and Shawnee County. I was able to attend the Kansas Kids State Wrestling Tournament this weekend for a little while. An event that has just been signed to another 5-year contract, which is a huge economic impact to Shawnee County. At over 2,300 wrestlers this year, which, just to put it into perspective, I was scheduled to give the welcome address 2 years ago when the event got canceled. It was 1,800 then. There's been significant growth in the girls category. And so, big event. Every hotel room in town was full, basically. And so that was neat. And we also had the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which appeared to be a big success. I went down there. The weather, I think, probably scared a few people off because it was kind of cold, but good time had by all. We've got a couple of state championship basketball teams in town now, in the Washburn Rural Girls and the Seaman Boys. And correct me if I'm missing any others, but I think both of those are the ones that won state championships over the weekend. So a lot of good things happening. Dino Days opened up at the zoo on Friday, the Dinosaurs Alive event, and so I got a chance to check that out. Really cool. If you haven't seen that yet, I'd encourage you to stop by. Probably on a warmer day. The day I was there, the dinosaurs were covered in snow still, so it was interesting, but still pretty cool. So that's all I've got. Next item, please.
Item 7, executive session.
We do not have a need for executive session today, so we are adjourned.
Is this your second to last? Is this your second?